What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Like, share, subscribe, comment. IG, TikTok, bottom of the video, and we just gonna hop right into it. So today we're doing an update on the Tay K trial. So obviously a couple days ago, I did a video about how his ex-girlfriend testified against him
At Mark and asked for his bag. Mark refused to give him the bag, so they all started hitting him, and Tamor was hitting him with the gun, and the whole time I didn't look back, but when I did, I saw his face, and I started telling them to let him go, and I just kept screaming, let him go. And Jalen opened the door and started pushing him out. And he was fighting to get back in the car. And then they didn't let him in the car. So he went around the car and he jumped on the hood. And then the light turned green.
Okay. Alright, I'm gonna stop you right there, okay?
Okay.
So, when you all were at the light on McCullough, you said Tamor produced his gun, correct?
Yes.
And who did Tamor have the gun pointed at?
Mark.
And what was Tamor saying when he had the gun pointed at Mark?
To give him his bag.
And so, once the light turned green, what happened?
He pointed the gun at me and told me to start driving. So I started driving. I didn't know where to go, so I turned into the first place that I saw, which was the Chick-fil-A. Once I turned into the Chick-fil-A, he kept yelling at me to get him off the car. I didn't know how to, so I was just going back and forth really quickly. And then Mark kicked the windshield, and Tay K opened the door and shot him.
Okay.
and saying identified him as the shooter of Mark Anthony Salvador. I'm just calling Mark from here on, so I don't keep fucking his name up. Mark, I think it's Salvador, but Mark Anthony, and the trial has now concluded. So if you have been under a tree somewhere, and it's actually, if you want me to do a full breakdown of this Tay K trial, like in a very elongated version, let me know in the comments. But anyway, Tay K was sentenced to 80 years for murder. So, where do I start? Okay, so if you, let me say this first, actually. He was found, if you watched it, he was found not guilty of capital murder, but he was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 80 years. So, first, while I will address what the capital murder thing is, what's the difference between capital murder and murder in the state of Texas? Capital murder in the state of Texas, it's either mandatory life or if they pick death. So I don't know if he was. They hadn't said nothing about it. I don't think nobody in court said nothing about death penalty. That was really just speculation. So he was going. That means he was going to have mandatory life imprisonment. It doesn't matter what they were trying to. They couldn't really sentence him to anything else. Mandatory life imprisonment. Murder. Obviously it's a little more leeway. And in what was actually crazy in Tay K's case, and this is something new I found out, he actually elected for the jury to sentence him instead of the judge. So the jury gave him 80 years. Now, now the next thing you're thinking is, didn't Tay K already have 55 years from the first thing where, the home invasion, where he supposedly, well, she's convicted of it now, he beat up a man real bad, and with Pimp C in them. So, or Pimp C, how do you say that nigga name? So, you had, he got 55 years, and yes, he did get 55 years for that, but it's not 135 years tapped on each other. Now, originally, with the 55 years, he had got, he was eligible for parole as of 2047. So, 20, obviously you don't want to be in jail 20 years. Let's be fucking 25. Well, he's been in jail since what, 2017, 2018. So He'll be in jail almost 30 years at that point. So obviously you don't want to be in jail 30 years, but compared to 55, 135 years and maybe never ever seen the light of day again, it's a little positive. Now the only thing about this 80 years is actually running concurrent with his uh other sentencing. So obviously concurrent means that he's basically he's going to serve it out at the same time. So he'll only a maximum of 80 years, and that murder gave him with no chance of parole. So I was trying to figure it out. I was very confused about how the parole worked, and if he was already awarded parole, that the chance of parole on one thing. I was confused how one another sentence with no parole thing. So is he still eligible for parole 24/7, or is that date just pushed back a little with another case? I would assume that is the date is pushed back a little with another case, because I remember I also say the earliest he was supposed to be that was the earliest 2047. The latest he could have been eligible for parole was 2074. So he would have 2018 2074. That's some math right there. That's like 56 years. So 56 years from being 16, 17. He went like what 72, 73 as well. So I mean, it's yeah, it's a lot to it. It's a lot with the wording, but I think he's pretty much eligible for parole, like probably like around 2050. I think it's somewhere around there. Actually, I think if I'm getting it right, correct me. If the law is a little different, it's Texas anyway. But yeah, so one thing that did interest me is in this case a little bit, especially watching some of the closing arguments by his lawyer. The lawyer did I didn't know this about the case a little bit more reading into it. So obviously the most of the evidence of him getting convicted was having a witness who put him in, who said he shot him. Now they could only really put him in the car. I didn't realize that obviously they said it was a 9 millimeter shell casing, but they said that the bullet was never found. So that's an interesting tad bit. So you can't exactly say that he shot that gun, or you can't really say it's relevant to the situation with no bullet, the shell casing at least. And then they found a 9 millimeter on Pepsi, who as well was spotted in the car on camera. So I thought a lot of it was interesting, and the fact that I didn't realize a lot of details about the case was so blurred. But yeah, he got. I mean, it's over with now. I thought the jury judge thing was interesting, because if you listen to the judge, she definitely sounded like she sounded like she might have not gave him 80 years. She sounded very much like she understood the age of Tay K, and that people make mistakes and things like that. And I'm a little on that side, but at the same time, Tay K was outlandish. It's not like he made no regular. It's not like this nigga shoplifted or something like that. I feel like that's more of a young and dumb mistake, shoplifting, stealing, some shit like that. What he was doing was a little overboard. So that's why I struggle with that one. But I will say though, I do believe the judge, might have been a little nice on the citizen, but 80 years is definitely crazy. 80 years is very crazy. I definitely think they were, so Texas is very strict on things like this, but I definitely think they were also, even though it's a jury, they were just trying to make an example out of him, especially because he was kind of like the first wave of these like drill rappers that was like, oh, these niggas is killing niggas, like, because you gotta think he was before, like, the next one to come was probably like Vaughn for real, but he was hot before Vaughn, so that's what I'm saying. He was really like the first wave, because it was like the drill rappers then, like Chief and them, like back in 2013, like, yeah, we heard stories about them, but we didn't know they was real, like, we didn't know the details of all the shit. So like, well, we did, but not like it won't like this. That's all I'm saying. So it was kind of crazy, but yeah, it's crazy. So I don't know what to say. I mean, ain't no point in saying free him because he in jail, so it's over with. So let's be honest. So that's all I gotta say though. Like, share, subscribe, comment. ID tip top on the video, and we out.